County Director and the Vice President of the Metropolitan Policy Program in one of the strongest, biggest urban think tanks that we can think of, Brookings Institution, and also the guest professor at London School of Economics, but also working in housing and urban development with two secretaries, Donovan and Henry Cisneros. Please.
So good morning, everyone. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you to Peter. Thank you to Fred Kent, who is here. I want to talk about the rise of innovation districts. I want to talk about the interplay of innovation in the 21st century and the placemaking. And this is really critical because, as you heard before, cities are the engines of national economies. And the innovative sectors, the sort of R&D, tech-fueled, advanced manufacturing and advanced services sectors are the engines of urban and metropolitan economies. So it's really important to see where the innovative economy is going and how it's affecting cities. And so let me talk about just not ancient history, but a little more modern history. That was absolutely fascinating. Here's what I think is the evolution of innovative sector placemaking in at least the mature economies. Industrial districts, late 19th century, earliest 20th century, Northern Europe, Northern England, Midwest of the United States, manufacturing essentially enmeshed in the urban fabric. Post-Cold War, research parks, Silicon Valley, Research Triangle Park, essentially far away, isolated campuses, whether they're national labs or they're corporate firms, but away from others. Keep your secret secret. And finally, innovation districts. The collapse back of the innovative economy to essentially the cores of, at a minimum, US, European, Canadian, perhaps Australian cities, beginnings of this effort outside. Just listen to this quickly.
The of innovation is shifting. To find an innovative economy 20 years ago, a worker needed to drive to a secluded research park, work in isolation, and keep ideas secret. Today, proximity is everything. Workers want to be in urban places that are walkable, bikeable, hyper-caffeinated, where they can bump into other workers and share ideas. Firms also want to be close to other firms, research labs, and universities in collaborative spaces so that smart ideas can be turned into smart products for the market. Innovation districts are this century's productive geography. They are both competitive places and cool spaces, and they will transform your city and metropolis.
So two things to take from that. First, I grew up on Saturday morning cartoons. If you can't animate it, it's not what we're talking about. But, you know, your typical American hyperbolic claim about the future of the universe. So here is at least a starting definition. And with Fred's help, Project for Public Spaces, beginning to rethink some of this definition. But we really started observing this trend of the collapse back of the innovative economy around our advanced research institutions, our medical campuses, the mashup of startups and entrepreneurs and investors, all in an urban fabric that's sort of connected by transit and wired and so forth. We really saw initially three kinds of models emerging. The first, fairly classic, right? Anchor institution led, think MIT, Kendall Square, think essentially Case Western or Cleveland Clinic around University Circle in Cleveland. Many examples, particularly in the United States, given where our advanced institutions are located. In the hot markets, Seattle, San Francisco, Boston, New York, what happens is as real estate prices sort of heat up around these anchor institutions, the innovative economy sort of jumps out to underutilized land, generally around waterfronts, generally former industrial spaces. And then the reason you know this is really happening is if you go to Research Triangle Park or other science parks in the United States, they're beginning to urbanize, right? Because they're competing for talented workers and innovative firms in the downtowns that are relatively near these places, so they think they need a different kind of placemaking. So let's deconstruct this a little, because I think this is quite different from what we've seen, at least in the United States, for quite some time. These districts are essentially the amalgam of three kinds of assets: economic, physical, and networking. And when you have a risk-taking culture, it essentially results in an innovation ecosystem. Let's start with the physical, the economic assets. This is Drexel University in University City in Philadelphia. You fall out of your Acela train in 30th Street Station. You're on the Drexel campus. Excellent sort of market engineering-oriented university. What you begin to see are firms just want to be near the secret sauce, right? The talented workers, the ideas. This is a high-value, research-oriented firm. This one is actually in St. Louis, co-factor genomics. A lot of life science companies, startups, wanting to be near these kind of universities. The creative field. This is a video gaming company in Philadelphia. Again, wanting to be close to the campus, right? For the young entrepreneurs, the ideas that get commercialized. And finally, even small batch manufacturing. Yes, we still make things in the United States, but with the rise of 3D printing, other technological advancements, what you're beginning to see are small companies. This is a company called Artaic. That's a robot called Artie, right? Making ceramics for hotels like this, with maybe 12 designers in the front office, a robot in the middle, and 10 folks dealing with marketing and distribution. Manufacturing can happen in cities, dense cities. So let's talk about physical, because this is really critical, and it's shifting even as we speak. The first part of physical, we've all learned this from Fred and others, is the public space being animated, right? The energy, the vibrancy, the vitality, right? And how that affects innovation. That's Barcelona on the left, Detroit in the middle, right? Whenever you think about Detroit, just hopefully you'll walk away with something different, because Detroit is rising again, renewing itself in the core. And Eindhoven, which calls itself the most innovative city in the world, in Holland. Public space, acting sort of for that bump and mingle effect of people. Space is changing inside facilities. Co-working space, space that is essentially organized, choreographed for collisions between people. Very, very different. This is District Hall in Boston Seaport, the self-proclaimed innovation district in Boston, built with concessions from developers, meeting place, most importantly a bar. So again, we can sort of fuel